Bum 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 bum. Hello, this is the Awkward GM Corbin, and today we are going to be covering They Came from Classified. But before I do, it would be a terrible thing for me to not state that there is currently a backer kit campaign going on right now for At the Gates. And I think if I do something along the lines of typing in a particular code phrase or so into the chat, a link will appear. But At the Gates is doing pretty well right now. Last I checked, it was almost to 20. No, not was it 20? I am I am all over the place today. I apologize. At the Gates, if I do the At the Gates ash can. Okay. So it's at $21,000 currently. It's got 30 days left, so it seems like it's gonna be, knock on wood, not. It's going to be breaking. It's going to be funding soon. Let me just toss this in here. Link to the Backer Kit project in case you want to do it. They Came from Classified is, of course, a Onyx Path publishing product. It is a. Oh, someone added me. Oh, it is just my stream. Okay. It is an Onyx Path project. It was created in the vein of the 1960s, 70s spy dramas with that whimsical quirk that only the British spy genre can do. Well, not all only, but there are a lot of your classic favorite spy dramas, probably, or spy comedies that are in here as well. If you're fans of the Avengers, and not the Marvel one, but the British Avengers with John Steed and Emma Peel, and of course the others that everyone always forgets, um, you might be familiar with They Came from Classified already in tone, as it were. And of course, if you like the Mel Brooks comedy of the Get Smart series, I believe it was Mel Brooks who created it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Beautiful cover here, blah blah blah. And the credits. Thank you all who created this project. Special thank you to Matthew Dawkins. Oh, and it's dedicated to Diana Rigg. Mrs. Peel, you will never not be needed. That's so sweet. That was the catchphrase of Steed. Every episode with Emma Peel, he would say, "Mrs. Peel, you are needed." In any case, this is the table of contents, which gives us a great overview. And I forgot to say what Beginner's Guide is. Beginner's Guide is a sort of deep dive as a beginner into the game that we are looking at. In this case, we'll be deep diving into They Came from Classified to get a good sense of what it is like. I will say I am a bit of a beginner with this. However, I did run a game at one point, though I will say it was a very off the cuff one shot that I did for everyone, and it was very fun. It was very fun. You can catch that probably on Onyx Path's YouTube page. Somewhere along there, it was the lobby, I think, the hotel lobby. I'll find it later, though. We should just delve right into this table of contents. Just get a brief overview. We have the examples of play, we have the inspirations, the TV shows, the movies, and it definitely, I'm going to hazard a guess that the Avengers is mentioned here. I would like to thank my father for making me watch the Avengers as a kid, and I actually really liked it, and I think I need to give it a shot again. In any case, we've got the archetypes. These are the character classes that you can take part in. You have the adventurer, the detective, the operative, the provocateur, and the quartermaster, which sort of seems to fall in line with the spy tropes and trademarks. Character creation, of course, where we go through a bunch of different character paths and such. This is They Came from games, so not only are you playing a character, but you're kind of also playing an actor as well. I did They Came from the Cyclops' Cave last week or 2 weeks ago as well, and that one had definitely a different feel than this. It's interesting to look at They Came From, because the genre isn't really, the setting isn't really a single genre. The genre is movies and media, and in a comical fashion or a meta fashion, and the settings themselves are very all over the place. You've got stuff like They Came From Beyond the Grave, They Came From Beneath the Sea, They Came From uh, the Cyclops' Cave, obviously, and then they have the They Came From anthology, which has a boatload of things, and sadly it does not have They Came From Dawkins Creek, which was the 90s teen drama version, but there are a bunch of other ones in that you can check around. Oh, and they came from Camp Murder, like where you get to play a slasher game, which is awesome. In any case, I just went over the system previously, but the system information is StoryPath. It's not StoryPath Ultra, as far as I know. That is not to say that you couldn't easily convert it to StoryPath Ultra if you get the brochure and try and do a little figuring out of how to make it work. In any case, you have when to roll dice, the royal flush, stunts, directorial control, and degrees of success, special effects such as conditions, field, and scale, the anatomy of a round for how combat goes. You have the various different damage types, antagonists, minor characters, mobs of characters, things that go boom in the night, dynamic combat, investigation, and drama. Now, you also have the cinematic powers, which you have quips. If you use a quip, you can get directorial control, I believe, if people agree to it. Don't hold me to that, because as I said, I am not an expert in this, and I am not even anyone who did any developing on this project, but I am a beginner, and hopefully this insight into this game will help you become more interested in said game. So we've got that. We've got the cinematics, which are different powers, quick change cinematic, seductive subtext cinematic. Okay, we'll have to look at those. Probably in the character creation video that I will be doing next week or the week after, depending on how scheduling goes. This one is just sort of an overview of the setting and the system, and man, are there so many mastermind and henchmen in this. This has a lot of antagonists. Now, if you look here, you can see that there's the KGB, Phantom, Smersh, and Stench. Now, I thought Smersh was a fake government agency, and apparently it's actually a real one that the Russians had during the Cold War. Terrible acronym. It sounds very weird. We have the stuff about the director's chair, which goes into the themes, moods, tropes. Additionally, it talks about the tradecraft of moving the spotlight to different players, communicating, making meaningful actions, and playing the storyteller system, story path system. Apologies, I got a cough in there. And also we get down into the common sense sets, which are the types of places that you will see in spy dramas, as it were. Now, we've got also a starter mission, it seems. I see something along the lines of missions. Along with robots, which makes me very interested. At first I was going to do a little Dr. Evil thing as I've smashed this Supreme Court building I have behind me, but this is a I like miniatures, so I have a Supreme Court miniature building that I use for games. And let's just go here. Now I love the artwork in this. Kudos to the art department for making these beautiful, like, 1960s style spy drama pieces of art. I'm always bad with eras, so correct me if I'm wrong on that, which I could possibly be. Now, we have got down here, welcome to the agency. Please hang your hat and coat over there and make yourself comfortable. Settled? Good. You know, Agent, we learn a lot from preparedness with which not noted ministry man John Steed prepares himself. Whether it's with a steel-lined bowler hat, a sword, and an umbrella, or walking stick, or simply a bon mot at a crucial moment. And I am hopefully bon mot is said that way because I am bad at French. You don't last long at the agency if you're not ready to fire a gun, karate chop, a hench person, vault a fence, or drive in a high-speed car chase, or quip your way out of trouble. Can I tempt you with a macaron? Now, I will say when I ran They Came From Classified, one of the fun things was Hiromi was playing a them fatale, a non-binary femme fatale. It really is the height of pessimism to have a hat lined with chainmail. Oof. They Come From Classified as a role-playing game, and we'll get into what, when, how do you do of these shortly. In the meantime, it is best to decide which of you will be playing the director of the spy caper so the rest can perform as players in your production, taking on roles as agents, inventors, assassins, and all manner of spies working on the side of freedom, justice, queen, and country, or presidents if you're from the other side of the Atlantic. It's the director's role to introduce mystery, drama, and sizzling romance while your agents push the adventure and plot forward, culminating in a communal story of dynamic combat, malevolent masterminds, and heroic deaths. This book is an avenue to all the fun you know from movies such as From Russia to Love, From Russia with Love, and Austin Powers' International Man of Mysteries, and TV series such as The Avengers and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Oh, you'll want to expect a certain level of overacting and innuendo in the farce of this game. The movies and TV shows around which They Came From Classified is based rarely spare the viewer from moments of laughter to punctuate the suspense and action. While espionage is at the shadowed core of this game, surrounding it is an excitement of flashy casinos, the thrill of dizzying cocktails, and buzzing of inventive gadgets, and of course forced dialogue, bad special effects, and silly plots. Don't fret, Agent. This game contains enough detail to be played with utter seriousness, and I'd expect you to take on the villainous roles such as Smersh and Phantom with all the grim determination of a spy looking to save the world. Take on villainous groups such as Smersh and Phantom with all the grim determination of a spy looking to save the world. But gameplay and the indulgence of this genre are designed as much to engage and amuse too. At the agency, we'll never force you to add humor to your explosive attaché case, but we do supply the tools to make your stories as entertaining as the most vibrant spy feature. Now grab yourself a cigar and scotch from the table, because your briefings are about to begin. Now this is where I would say that I feel as though the spy genre itself has kind of been superseded now by the police procedural drama. The type of stuff that you would see in something like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. or The Avengers or Get Smart is downplayed a lot more in police procedurals, but you get the wordplay and the puns and the things like that in a lot more of the police procedurals genre nowadays, which isn't my cup of tea, could be yours, might not be either, but the spy genre is great because you just get to sit back and drink a martini or or a Manhattan and while away the evenings with silenced pistols trying to take down evil villains who are trying to take over the world, set off earthquake machines, etc., etc. Ah, man. In any case, What a time to be alive, Agent. East and West at each other's throats, young liberalism clashing with elder conservatism, the melodic tunes of the past giving way to the frankly obnoxious noise of rock and punk, and whatever else it is people are listening to these days. In many ways, I feel that when the 1960s reached their close, I had fallen out of time. All of a sudden, it was the dia regu for men to start showing up to work with their collars open and medallions around their necks, while women's skirts got higher and higher and higher. Shocking. Anyway, that distinction aside, it is time to make the agent, and we're experiencing interesting times. Now, if I go down here, we can go into the picking your weapon. In the game of They Came From Classified, the upcoming archetype chapter gives you a full dossier on subject, but if you're enjoying your drink, perhaps you'd entertain my explaining them briefly right now. There's a scientist in the field, and she takes a receipt of a mysterious package from a dead drop location she knows well. Smuggling back to her safe house, her eyes widen as she recognizes the component parts and realizes she can convert them to function with an invention of her own devising. As the lightning flashes outside, the rain hits the window. She applies soldering iron to the metal, showers her apron with sparks from a welding torch, and apologizes to her landlord for hammering and the small fire she started on the bed. Finally, she has it, a fully functional, invisible pistol, fit for use in her compatriot's upcoming mission. The quartermaster invents, and provides the support. She turns trash into treasure and knows how to shut down the doomsday machine, and is an invaluable agent to home and beyond the enemy lines. The quartermaster being a great name for someone who is playing the Q of your operation, if you are familiar with the James Bond movies. Now, I have water here, but I wish the water was in a martini glass so that I could really get into the moment here. In any case, we've got the detective next. Knocking on her door with the rhythm they decided a week prior to the tune of God Save the Queen's first line comes a visitor. He's in a mac, dripping with rainwater, and as the quartermaster invites him in, he unceremoniously throws his hat and coat on the bed, grumbling about weather and the Smersh agents who followed him halfway across the city. He'd grown close, you see, to solving a mystery involving the Soviets, murder, espionage, and sex. What mystery involving sex? In any case, it was a case that make him or break him. But just as he reached the last clue, the lights went out. Someone had clubbed him over in the head. Then he was running, making his way to the nearest safe house right here. None of this will faze the detective for long. He's committed to the case, and he could bring his savvy, his knowledge of law enforcement and criminal mesmerism, and criminal enterprise, his interrogation techniques, and his nose for the lead to bear on the matters of local and international concern. Eventually, with certainty that no enemy agents were watching, the quartermaster and detective make their way from the bedside to a bedsit to a trendy club. You know what? I'm going to be making a lot of vocab mistakes because vocab isn't my forte, but I love the patter of this story because, as always with They Came From, they are written in a very fun way to read, and definitely a fun way to act. It always feels as if someone's watching you in these parts, and even the dancing and drinking feels like a ritual of espionage. The two take to the booth in the corner, watching their friend dance, smooching, laughing, and kissing. Her hand making its way up her partner's pocket and pulling an ID card free before tucking it into her belt. The smile never leaves her face, her hair never falls out of place, and her arms snake around her dancing companion's shoulder. He feels love. The provocateur gets what she wants with the right word here or there, the right coy or seductive gaze there, and knows all the right moves in this part of town. Once the music dies down, she gives him a kiss on the cheek and sashays over to her friends, presenting them with the card. Easy as pie, right? Everything seems to be going well, and the three have a quick drink with each other, planning their next step. But wait, they didn't order this next round. Arriving on the waiter's tray, as the provocateur asks the source of this generous offering, she spots the waiter's concealed weapon and that the bouncer approaching them. They're caught in a trap. Surprised, the waiter turns his head, only to have his chin caught by the heel of the adventurer's white leather boot, which strikes him with a tidy roundhouse kick. The tray clatters to the ground, drinks flying, but before the bouncer can draw his pistol, the adventurer has the silver tray in hand and is throwing it at a burly Russian. And a lot of things happen. And then we get down into where the operative comes in. Falling from the window, the adventurer realizes she probably should have planned her landing, but is comforted to find herself coming to rest in the arms of an older gentleman in a bowler hat, wearing a pinstripe suit, a carnation in his buttonhole, and a smile on his face. You really should have warned me before doing that. Those buckles and belts add quite a bit of weight to your frame, he laughs, as he sets the adventurer down and hops into his convertible as he can pull around to the front of the club and collect their comrades. The operative reassures his friends they are now have everything they need to end the enemy's operation in the city. All he needs to do is infiltrate the facility, take out their experimental weapon, neutralize their leader, and range enough champagne to last them the flight back home. This is what you can expect from They Came From Classified. It's an improvisational game of shared storytelling. The game works similar to any role-playing game that you have seen before. If you're familiar with games such as Scion, Trinity Continuum, Pugmire, Dungeons and Dragons, obviously, and any of the variety that are out there, even from other companies, you may know what They Came From is all about. Is this a comedy game? It's about the world of espionage. The world of espionage isn't rife with comedy, but is filled with darkly comic and sometimes farcical moments. We might refer you to the deadpan nature of Casino Royale 2006, or the frenetic feature that was Casino Royale 1967. Now, there are ranges of tones, and we feel this game works best if you utilize all of them to degrees your players find enjoyable. As a serious spy game with a comedic twist, with a serious spy game with comedy, nonsense, and melodramatic elements, it provides you with the tools to make things amusing for you and your group. But how often you use these tools is up to you. It is a balance of action, social sparring, laughter. Some groups make every scene a laughing riot, while others pull out the jokes at crucial points. I remember when I ran this game and I was just like, let's have someone being garroted in the bathroom from a air vent above the toilet. And that was a callback to the GoldenEye video game. Not the movie, the video game. As everyone agrees, the video game was much better than the movie. Anyway, so that is my personal opinion, and it does not reflect the opinions of anyone at Onyx Path Publishing. Or the company itself. Okay, we've got the inspiration section. I just like love all the stuff that this is based on. I've heard most of these things. You've got the Avengers, you got Danger Man. I haven't heard of Peter Gunn. The Saint. Oh. This is the type of thing that you can expect when Simon Templar is around. Do, 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 do. Anyway. As you can tell, I really like this genre. You've got The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Get Smart, and of course, Mission Impossible. Get Smart was really well known for for the gadgets that did not work properly, the cone of silence never really did work. It was a device that would go over your head so that you could talk to the person next to you but couldn't be heard from outside by anyone else. And what would often end up happening is it would fail and they would have to just talk normally. But also, the one time it did work, it trapped the guy in it. And no one could get him out because they didn't realize he was in trouble. Captain Scarlet and the Mysterions. That was a classic puppet show. The Prisoner, The Champions, Columbo, a giant laundry list. I would probably put Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. up there as something that's a little bit more modern. I don't think anything here is past the year 2000. Columbo lasted that long. Man. Yeah, none of the TV shows are that recent. Of course, James Bond has a lot of different eras that you can just go through. Pink Panther. I like how they say 1963 to 1993, arguably because there was a remake at one point. Yeah, none of these are from very recent. I guess the Mission Impossible series. Yeah, there we go. Still present. They don't make them like they used to. In any case, the thing about they came from classified that you're not going to see with many RPGs is that it actually doesn't really have a setting. Tangentially, like, not tangentially, the general feel is that the setting is going to be the Cold War spy drama, which is why, like, you have a bunch of people, masterminds, henchmen, and stuff like that from spy drama fiction. But it isn't like you're going to have a setting where this is the world of, like, the world building and stuff like that. No, you know the genre. You are asked to base it around the tropes and the archetypes of that setting. As we said before, we've got the adventurer here. We've got the detective, the operative, and of course all of these, once the provocateur, all of these characters are identical to the description I have, except for the quartermaster. In the story from the beginning, that I had read out, the operative was an older man with a bowler hat. The detective was just a detective. The adventurer was a woman. Provocateur was a woman, and then the quartermaster was a woman. But sadly, the quartermaster here is specifically very curiously Q-like. Quartermaster was curiously Q-like. I don't know if that's something you could say 3 times fast. I love this. The world has a price. So we'll skip ahead here. We're about halfway through. Skills and attributes. You have your typical story path skills, so you aim, close combat, athletics. Looking at a character sheet gives you a lot of the details about, like, the system itself, and you can infer a lot as a beginner, I feel. Aim, obviously, for shooting. Athletics for doing strength-based things, trying to jump around, things like of that nature. Sportsing. Close combat, you're fighting, melee fighting. Or if you have a dagger or something, you're trying to stab someone. Command, sort of like your intimidate. You want to be forceful to someone and tell them to do something and make sure that they hold to it. Culture is your knowledge of cultural norms, history, stuff like that. Empathy for insight into what a person is currently thinking. Enigmas is your problem-solving skill because you might not be a problem solver, but your character could be. Humanities probably is a little bit more about like history and like psychology and things like that of that nature. You have your integrity, which is how good you are at keeping composed, larceny for stealing and stealthing and jumping around like that, medicine for healing and determining if how someone was poisoned or how to poison someone, persuasion to lie, bluff, and to manipulate individuals, um, piloting for driving, flying a plane, etc. Science for chemistry and things of that nature, survival for a lot of stuff that I can't think of at the moment, and then technology. Survival is kind of like you're tracking someone down, is something for that nature. Technology for your gadgets and things. In any case, you have your attributes as well, which go into your skills. When you are asked to roll a dice pool, you will roll your skill plus your attribute pool, which goes from 1 to 5, which means at maximum you're rolling about 10 to 11 die depending on how this system deals with specialties, things of that nature. One thing I should cover are rewrites. Sometimes the momentum. Sometimes when you fail, something needs to come up later. So if you fail a roll, you'll get something called a consolation, which is basically a consolation prize for having tried but failing. Rewrites are resource shared amongst all players in the writer's pool. The writer pool holds up to 3 rewrites per each player. So with 4 players, the writer's pool should have a maximum of 12 rewrites. Start of the story, the writer pool contains the number of rewrites exactly to the number of players. Every failed roll without an immediate consolation adds a rewrite to the pool, and botch rolls add 2 rewrites. Rewrites allow you to do several things: activate your cinematics, which are special abilities, and gain an additional attempt at a complex action. And then that costs 3 rewrites. And then add dice to a dice pool, spending 1 rewrite for each extra die. Only half of the writer's pool rounded up can be used in such a manner on a single action. So, for instance, if you are trying to roll... If you were trying to add 5 dice to your roll and you only had 6 available, you could only have a maximum of 3 rounded up. We have the various conditions that you can have in the fields. Just a quick overview of conditions. They affect a single character, giving them problems or advantages with the potential to last for an extended period of time, such as dislocating your shoulder may cause you trouble when you're hanging from a rope bridge. Whenever a condition causes a significant setback to your character, add 1 rewrite in addition to any gained as consolation. So if you have a broken arm and your character is hanging on the ledge, you could say, hey, I have a condition that should affect this and cause me to fall. Can I get a rewrite for it? And you can. It's not up to you. It's a little bit up to you, and it's a little bit up to your story guide if you can think of a way to use a condition. I would say 9 times out of 10, conditions don't usually come up unless someone is keeping track of it very well. That being said, if you'd be the best player if you could remember conditions. You'd be the best story guide if you are able to recall conditions and keep track of everything. Rule of thumb for me, best number of players to have is 3 maximum. You can usually get away with 2. 4 is all right as well, but once you get up to about 5, you're juggling a lot. Any case, we have fields. Conditions, complications, enhancements only affect a single character. By contrast, fields impact everyone, sharing The affected landscape. A field of seduced applies to anyone receptive to the charms of the mastermind's alluring second in command. While having a fist fight on the surface of a moon, everyone suffers low gravity field. One of my favorite things to go through these books is the antagonist section as well, so I will be doing that in a little bit. We do have scale in this. Scale is ranked from 1 to 6 for a given character, and it has this thing of basically the more scale you have, the less you need to roll. Scale does give you an enhancement bonus, which means extra successes on a roll. So if I roll 5 dice and only one of them comes up with an 8 or higher, that means I have 1 success. But if I have an enhancement of 2, it adds 2 successes onto that 1, so I get a total of 3. Remember correctly. In any case, we have the round by round actions. You have ordinary actions. Any task covered by jumping over a single pool of covered by a single dice pool. This could be jumping over a snake pit, crawling under a barbed wire fence, or throwing a grenade into a door of ammunition warehouse. Okay. You have mixed actions. Mixed actions I don't do typically, but essentially what you would do on your turn is you'd say, I want to do 2 things, and like such as running and throwing a grenade, and in doing so, you would increase the difficulty to do the actions simultaneously. While more tasks may be attempted at once, since the difficulty of each must be bought off separately, success at all tasks becomes less likely. Taking more than 2 actions usually requires them to be reflexive. Quick actions that require no rolls. A simple task is a reflexive action. Can be done simultaneously with the primary action without interfering, such as talking. Looking at the cards while you're planning your next move does not stop you from talking to the other players. You may perform as many reflexive actions in a round as you like, so long as you don't interfere with each other or the primary action. So you can't shoot someone as a reflexive action unless an ability says you can, but that would be called an ordinary action. Don't really need to go into initiative. The ranges are similar to other story path systems. We've got here close, short, medium, long, extreme, and out of range. Not often going to see the extreme and out of range one. Well, you're not even going to see the extreme range ones unless it's like an intercontinental ballistic missile. And I am out of water. Cheers. For the various weapon tags with damage tags, concealable weapons will give you a +1 enhancement to hide an object from view. Incurable, the wound or affliction resists mundane attempts to ease it, requiring revolutionary experimentation to repair. Interesting. That's a cool one. That's the thing with They Came From as far as the game system goes. It's very much in line with making sure that the the abilities are over the top. Especially with this, it seems like not all of them are over the top in other They Came From, but this in particular is like, you are a spy. You are supposed to be like the best of the best. It's an action movie, it's not a horror movie, so you're going to be doing a lot of crazy things. Uh, we have various combat conditions such as blinded, brainwashed, diseased, panicked, paralyzed, unconscious. The minor characters. Experience added. I don't remember that from before. I'll have to look at that later, but basically you have your generic dice pools for minor characters. Anything they're proficient in would be 7d10s. On average, an average dice pool of 4. Condition track. Condition track must be hit points. So they must have like 5 hit points or something. We have the various investigation clue gathering stuff. If you roll this, you're going to get more information to solve the murder. Success on investigation rolls may also function as enhancements to relevant rolls. These enhancements may help in future scenes, but their duration depends on both the situation and number of successes. Successes may be applied to a future plot hook or rewrites. If an attempted rewrite involves the uncovered clue, the cost of the change is reduced by 1 rewrite per success spent. So basically, you can say, I rolled 5 successes on this. I spend the 5 successes, so I have 5 rewrites available for a future roll. Which isn't likely going to happen, but hey, it could. In your dreams, Mr. Bond. We've got the attitude system of changing someone from a positive to a negative, and vice versa, blocking influence. This is very akin to a lot of like this is very akin to Man from U.N.C.L.E. or the Avengers. Someone wearing mascot costumes performing crimes. The electric touch. We have the various quips and things of that nature. I'm going to go jump to masterminds and henchmen. So if you're a millennial, you might not even know who the KGB were, except in the various movies and stuff of the spy genre era. You're basically the KGB were the CIA of the Russian Soviet Union. Not known for being nice guys and being very brutal, which I'm not getting into that. In any case, the KGB were an interesting foil to the CIA, or were in real life considered like were enemies of the state and all that stuff. In spy dramas, they were interesting foils and antagonists. Then you have Phantom, the International League of Psychopaths. Henchmen, assassins, nationalists, terrorists, operatives, and masterminds. Is a present thorn in the world's side and one of those rare exceptions that makes the democratic and communist world join in arms and fight side by side, just as they did during World War II. They're a society of dangerous militants and masterminds obsessed with exploring the bleeding edge of technology, no matter the ethical costs. Were you fighting a robotic menace in the field? It's likely a phantom agent's working its controls. Then you have Smersh. As far as the world is largely concerned, Smershed, or Smert Spienam, Death to Spies, ceased existence in 1946. We all breathed a sigh of release when we heard Stalin was decommissioning his elite counterintelligence unit. But since then, reports have reached us of clandestine operations on the wrong side of the Iron Curtain, all with Smersh fingerprints on them. Okay. Now we have Stench. You'll rarely encounter such a despicable bunch of those who work for the repellent organization. Under the influence of the indomitable Dr. Crow, they seek to develop and release chemical and biological weapons all over the world, remodeling the planet in their preferred image. In many ways, they share traits with Phantom. And no, one might describe Phantom as a criminal organization for depraved physicists, and Stench as one of the villainous chemists and biologists. One for villainous chemists and biologists. Oh, and in case you didn't know, Stench stands for the Society for the Total Extinction of Non-Conforming Humans, because of course it does. I think it's safe to say that Phantom and Stench are fictitious, whereas Smersh is a real organization that at once existed. Oh, thank you for the raid, Travis. Hi, Josie. It is awesome to see you. I am currently covering the many antagonists and henchmen and masterminds of They Came From Classified, such as the alligator woman Skin Tight. They have a bunch of these like henchmen and masterminds behind the scenes. I'm having fun. What were you guys doing before you got here? The clown face killer Sebastian Quill. Now, this is a deep history like thing of mine. Like I was watching TV and there was a clown that killed someone. Oh, we were just playing Chainmail and Bikini and telling folks about At the Gates, which you can back on Backer Kit in our link tree. Thank you. Thank you, Travis. Chainmail Bikini. That must be a meme game. I've heard people mention it, so I think it was Travis on Facebook. I remember this show with a clown that killed people, and there were the chalk outlines on the ground, but I can't remember what it was. It must have been Man from U.N.C.L.E. The Cyborg, Kang, the Roo. so many crazy characters in this. It's a JRPG game I made. Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to check it out then. The Femme Fatale, Cold Dust. I don't know. There's so many games to play. I want to play At the Gates. I've already backed it, and I'll double check it. I have the thing open right now, seeing where it's at. It looks like it's at 22,000. So it gained $1,000 while we were streaming. We'll have to watch the VOD of Chainmail Bikini. So we've got all this stuff here. Let me get into, so these are the masterminds. I want to get down into or maybe these are the henchmen or stuff like that. Let's get into the nameless people, because I don't want to spoil all of this stuff here. You've got your faceless fanatics who aren't hired goons. They are up into your stuff. They know, they're like true believers. You've got your KGB agents, you've got your robotic killers, you've got your Schmersh spies, and your stench operatives. Oh, and your phantom thugs. I have to say, whoever did the artwork in this book, I love it. Love everything about it. Scroll down here. Director's chair. I've got 10 minutes left. I'm pretty. What is a goon sack, Josie? I do not know what a goon sack is. I used to call a lot of the stuff everyone's going into lurk mode. You guys are crazy. Anyway. We used to call them mooks. A goon sack is a bag of cheap wine. It's a term from your Aussie friends. Well, Josie, that is awesome. They're supposed to be lurking. We're gonna have to try and find someone to raid soon. I let me give that to Travis as the job while he's lurking. Anyway, disabilities and masterminds. It's an unfortunate trope of this era how disability is portrayed. You can always tell who's the evil mastermind is in these stories. He's the one missing a hand, has a robotic eye, or some unusual prosthetic. Often his name revolves around his disability, like Iron Leg or Golden Thighs. Lupine Vendetta. Okay, that sounds good. We've got. I was recently. It was a big thing in Doctor Who recently, where they were talking about how they changed Davros. Gold Josie, I am not calling you Golden Thigh. I remember Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. They had the philosophers Brimfondle and Magic Thighs, who were the philosophers who were trying to figure out what the meaning of life, the universe, and everything was, and didn't want a computer to do it for them. Oop. I've been working hard on my. I've been working hard. I've been working out. I've got weights somewhere around here. I'll get my weights out while I do this. Failure is okay and fun. You have the meaningful action stuff. You have the fail forward mechanics. Improv. Oh, solo stars. We assume most people playing are portraying a team of secret agents in the vein of Man from Uncle or Mission Impossible. However, a lot of spy films feature one super spy who is incredibly competent and able to handle most any mission by herself. What if you want to play a spy game featuring only one spy? The easiest way, of course, is to play with only one player and one director. It's easy to keep the spotlight on one character. In that instance, you might need to discard or tweak some cinematics that assume a larger playing group, and maybe give the spy another quip or two in her hand. But otherwise, the game works pretty much as written in such a solitary setup. It's interesting. I am waiting for. Thank you for redeeming hydrate, but I am out of water practically. Ah, I've been trying to keep in shape. I'm playing They Came From. I finished it literally like the second you guys raided. In any case, though, I am trying to get pumped so that I can start punching people in They Came From Classified. I always like these like sections of these are the typical things that you're going to encounter, the typical scenarios. You have the high-tech lair, the hospital, the hotel. I bet you I passed the club already. Did I pass the nightclub? I haven't passed the nightclub. Yeah, nightclub. I'll read through the nightclub a little bit. Band plays the stage as nubile young folks take to the dance floor. Amorous couples make out in private booths, and you can smell champagne and cigarette smoke everywhere. This is the hottest nightclub in town. Are you hip to it? Have you passed the jacuzzi? There's a jacuzzi in here. There's no. There's a hotel. Does the hotel have a jacuzzi? Does not say. You lied to me, Josie. You want a point refund then? Oh, okay. You're joking. Okay. I can just hold the glass here, and then whatever like water like evaporates into it, I'll drink. Evaporates from the floor or whatever. So you have the various locations within the nightclub, such as the entryway, the dance floor, the bar, the private booth, the VIP lounge, and then you have some complications that might occur, such as it being too loud to hear something from a private conversation. You might have to go to a private booth in order to hear your own you talking to someone else. Trying to find a specific in there is like a needle in a haystack, which is crammed into a barn full of needle-laced haystacks. Then there are possible enhancements to sneak up on people. You don't need a cover; you can just blend right in. That's the type of stuff I would encounter. I'd assume I encounter in a nightclub. It's getting about that time that we're wrapping up here. I really like They Came From. I feel they came from Classified in particular, though I do feel like I know so much of it that I'm like, okay, I know what I'm gonna be doing with this. I know what it's putting down here, and I would love to run another game of it. Hopefully, we can figure out. Oh, yes, Josie did kill someone with in a jacuzzi one time when we played. Not they came from Classified, but we played Trinity Continuum Assassins, which is the opposite end of the spectrum of seriousness. Well, actually, I wouldn't say that. They came from Classified is much more humorous at the from the get go, but Trinity Continuum also can be pretty humorous depending on where you want to go. The pulp stylings of Trinity Continuum Adventure are very similar, in my opinion, to They Came From Game. However, it does play itself more straight than They Came From Classified, which really loves the tropey nature of the genre. It's a much more camp, I would say. Though, how would one describe camp? It is very difficult to force camp as well. In any case. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you all for raiding at this time. And thank you, Travis, for saying we're going to raid the Lupine Vendetta. I have been the Awkward GM Corbin. You can find me at the Awkward GM Corbin. No, I don't know why I went into that. You can find me at the Awkward GM Corbin on YouTube. And I'll be doing some Trinity Continuum stuff on that channel soon. And I might have a surprise on Friday, though I'm not saying anything about that until I get confirmation what is exactly inside that box. In any case, I've been the Awkward GM Corbin. Thank you for watching, and good night. Let's transition. Bum 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 bum.